Hello, good morning, and welcome to Coffee, Buses and Politics for the 4th of April 2025. You've probably noticed already, it's just two of us because Alex and Stephen are at work. So, Martin, it's just thee and me.
Yeah, it's shocking, isn't it? This commitment to work that people have.
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Says
for,
me, sunning myself in Munich.
I mean, unfortunately, which pretty much as soon as we finish this, I'm going to be right here all day because this is where I work. Um, Yeah, has its advantages in that my commute is a good 10 seconds, but it does mean I'm going to be literally sat here, and I'm not sure it's great for my posture.
I sometimes can be just sat all day in my office at home as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
so I know exactly what that's like.
yeah.
Yeah,
What
I'm
takes
going
you
to
to
be
Munich?
doing a lot of that when I get back. Seeing a bit of music, so a band called Avantasia that I really like. So I'm just going to a few gigs across Europe. So I did 3 days in Vienna. I've got 2 days in Munich, and then a couple of days in uh, Frankfurt.
Hmm. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's been
Mm,
great so
brilliant.
far. Vienna and
Oh,
Munich, can't argue, can you?
well, no, you can't. Anyway, um, we were going to talk about the elections because there's elections coming up for the county council and for the mayor. An interesting thing is, so the statement of persons nominated or statements of persons nominated have come out, and you've got five parties with complete slates of candidates in every division. So Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dems, Green, and Reform. And I think the interesting thing is that Green and Reform are running candidates everywhere, and actually Labour are as well because we screwed up the forms last time in South Cambs. I know that people have assumed it was some sort of deal. Actually, no, we screwed up getting the forms done. But I think the interesting one that the Greens and the Reform are running everywhere is really quite interesting. Did back when UKIP
Yeah,
were around, did they run everywhere?
I'm not sure they ran everywhere, um, but they certainly were quite widespread. I mean, they got 12 candidates elected, a lot of whom weren't expecting to get elected, to be fair.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, and I suspect they're going to do well this time. It all depends on with reform. Um, Once they've got candidates out, they're open for scrutiny, and it depends on exactly what any form of scrutiny finds out about sort of candidates and stuff. Because if they've got candidates who are basically wrong uns, the press will cover it, and it will impact on their vote. And they had a few last time, quite a few. Um, but certainly, from my perspective, UKIP, Reform are going to have an impact on the vote. No two ways about it. And it's just how big an impact and who has the biggest impact. Is it the Greens or is it Reform? Because obviously Greens are going to take mostly Labour vote, and I would think that Reform will take mostly Conservative votes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I see the Greens taking some Lib Dem votes in places as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing is,
Yeah,
you do get Conservative Green switching and Labour Reform switching.
and there is so in Finland, a lot of the Lib Dem candidates are paper candidates from out of the district, and people will pick up on that, and that will affect
Yeah.
their choice of who they vote for.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's. I
When
mean,
you say that,
yeah. No. I mean, I was talking
our
to
very
to.
own Alex managed to managed to get herself elected. So I've lost you just for a second, David. That's why I'm
Oh,
worried.
sorry.
But
Oh no, I'm
um,
here.
yeah, our very own Alex managed to get elected out of district. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've got a problem with my internet access for some reason. I'm going to try and do something quickly.
Okay. I mean, it's. I was talking with a friend from the Green Party yesterday, because we were talking about one of the problems with the electoral system we've got, that we end up with people voting to stop a party getting
Right.
in, rather than.
Just trying to sort this out.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Oh, hello, Munich. Can you hear me? Sorry about this, everyone. We're just having some technical problems. But yeah, I wish we had a proportional system or a preferential system, so that
do I.
so that we didn't have this thing of people having to, voting to keep someone out rather than for who they want.
I agree. I do think tactical voting is it's a genuine thing to do, and people should do it if they think it's appropriate for them. Um, but it is then becomes about voting to keep somebody out rather than voting for an individual, as you say, and it's not a positive thing. But we've talked about PR before. I'm a big fan of PR. I think the sooner we move towards it, and I wish the mayoral election was done through PR as well, because I don't like the idea that a mayor's going to get elected with 30% of the vote. It might be more than 30%, but you get the point.
No, it's and particularly as the role is really about bringing people together. The system we've got does not encourage reaching across the aisle, and I think that's a problem with the system as well. I
agree, and the fact that we've had and are still having quite an attritional campaign is going to make whoever is elected as mayor, is going to make their job more difficult straight afterwards, because the first thing they've got to do is start working with the political parties that they've been having a go at. And I said before last week, I was quite happy with the fact that Paul has tried to move to a more positive campaign. But there's still a few things going on. There was stuff this week about candidates standing twice and one candidate standing 3 times. Because they're standing in district seats. That was sort of an inevitability, because the mayoralty if you don't get it and you can't stand elsewhere, you're basically out of politics and out of elected politics. And these are good candidates that we don't want to be out of our system.
Yeah, it's one of the problems with having, partly how many elections we have, but having. I wish that the elections were spread out a bit more, so that when you had an election, you could focus on the issues for that election. When you have lots of different elections on the same day for different bodies, the whole conversation ends up getting a bit lost about what are you electing people for.
No, I think absolutely right, and I don't think enough people know about what the mayoralty is for as well. There are a lot of people that see it as a waste of money, whereas actually what it's doing is bringing money into Cambridgeshire, and I think that's a good thing. And again, another criticism this week has come that Paul's spending plans are sort of £2 billion over budget. I'm not too fussed about. I don't think people should fuss about that, to be honest. I think there's a reality, which is that those mayors are there to attract funding, and so it's right that the mayor. It's right that the mayor has ambitious plans, and I think any of the candidates should have that. It's one of those things that if 90% of it happens, great. if 50% of it happens, probably great. But the mayors should have ambitious plans.
Yeah, but there is the balance between ambitious but still realistic. Yeah, I'm looking at the. Actually, I will post the link in the chat from. So a post from Cambridge Town Owl, but it links to.
I've lost you again.
Oh
This
dear,
is not going well today.
no. Shall we call it if this isn't going to work?
Yeah, you're there again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, I was looking at the on Cambridge Town Owl. I mean, this is focused on Cambridge, but Phil Rogers' predictions for the Cambridge seats, which actually sees the Greens gaining. This is for the county seats for Cambridge. Greens gaining 2 from Labour. The Lib Dems gaining 5 from Labour. 4. There's also city council elections. Phil Rogers is predicting the Conservatives to win the combined authority, but that what the Cambridge Town Owl says is on the mayoralty, the intervention of Team Nigel means that for me the mayoral contest is now too close to call, and I think I agree with that. I think it is too close to call the mayoralty.
I agree. I think the mayoralty it is going to be very, very close, and the disappointment is the fact that we're going to have a mayor that's probably, I think, around about 35%, somewhere around about there, that the mayor's going to win by, whoever wins, and it's I think that's a bit of a shame, really. That's why it should be a preferential voting system, because there's a lot of people going to use that as an excuse to not support the mayor. Politically, you can see the combined authority board with people saying, well, you don't have a mandate, you've only got 35% of people put a cross against your name. And I think that's a shame. I expect Reform to do very well in Fenland, and probably in some bits of Huntingdonshire as well. And again, it depends on what happens over the next few months, but my guess is that they'll win a few seats across Fenland.
I mean, of course, they may not be there for that long, because in a couple of years the county council may be wrapped up as we move to the new unitary, which is May. Sorry. May. I don't know how that will play into it, but it will be, I suppose. Sorry, let me start that again. One thing's, do you know how forming a coalition works, or a joint administration works at the county council? Because I think it seems quite likely that we will be no overall control, and potentially quite a complicated picture.
Yeah, it's just about negotiation, basically. Last time, who took the lead on the Labour side to help put it together was I've forgotten his name, ex MEP, and I know him not well, but I've met him.
Richard Howitt.
Yeah, I think he basically pulled it together and had a big role. And it is just about negotiation. But my fear for the county council is that the outcome will be something where it is almost impossible to put together an administration, and that won't be good for Cambridgeshire at all. I mean, my other fear is a Conservative Reform administration. I hope the Conservatives will rule that out completely, because I think they're asking for trouble if they do it. But it's power, isn't it? And if the option's there, they'll take it, I think.
Well, I mean, what happens if you you get to the election to choose a leader, and no one has enough votes to be chosen. If you can't if you literally can't form an administration.
You keep having meetings until you do, is what I understand. I mean, that's certainly last time there was extra meetings put in the calendar when we went into no overall control in 2013, and we had extra meetings in the calendar just in case that didn't happen. It was and just in case we couldn't come to a deal because again, UKIP was saying certain things that weren't true, that they weren't going to vote for they were never going to vote for a Conservative minority administration. But he claimed he'd got agreement from all the other parties, and he didn't, is the reality. Yeah.
Because that could be... Oh, you've dropped out again, Martin. Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And the thing is, there's not a huge amount of polling for county council mayoral stuff. Although I was out canvassing yesterday, I think I did see somebody from at least with an Ipsos bag and lanyard going round. So I think maybe there may be some information coming out, but that may be, of course, national. Is there anything else to cover on the elections at the moment, do you think? You there?
Yeah, I'm there again.
Yeah.
I'm struggling with the Wi-Fi in the hotel. Apologies to everybody.
That's all right. I mean, do you want to keep going, or shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, let's just keep going for a little while and see how we go. I'm going to try something different in a second.
Okay.
I'll try and hook through my phone.
All right.
I'm hoping that there's enough there to put together a deal of some sort, because it's going to get extremely difficult. And at the moment, we need some decent leadership at the county to make sure we get the best out of the move towards unitaries.
Yeah, and actually, the makeup of the council may have an impact on how we go towards, what the boundaries are and that sort of thing. Because there was a letter that came out from certainly Huntingdonshire agreed it, and I think everybody was going to agree it. Which was that basically the response to Jim McMahon was, "We'll get back to you in a bit because we've got elections coming on, and it wouldn't be fair to come out with a proposal just before elections," which I actually think is right. So it'll be interesting to see after the elections what comes out.
Yes, I agree. Somewhere along the line, the councils have got to come up with a solution that works, and they might as well just come up with something now. After May the 1st, obviously, but they might as well just do it as early as they can, because actually they're never going to agree right up to the deadline if they don't. It's not going to change.
No.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I suppose the other thing to say is that there's one person not standing for county council, and that's Stephen Ferguson.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. Obviously, I think Stephen's played a big role in the last 4 years. Year as chairman, as an example, and I think it's a shame. But it's the thing. Work and politics. And especially the county council, it's very, very difficult to balance. And I think it's a shame for St Neots, is the reality. Are there any other independents standing in St Neots, do you know?
Well, I don't know. No, I mean, I think I don't want to speak for Stephen. I think he's also partly a bit disillusioned with things, but also he has got an awful lot of abuse online, and that gets really difficult to deal with. So I'm just going through the Huntingdonshire, where there are independents. So
St Neots has got a history of it, so
yeah. So St Neots East, no. St Neots Amesbury, Sam Smith is running as an independent, and then Bev White is running for the Party of Women in. So St Neots Amesbury, you've got Sam Smith, and you've got Bev White for the Party of Women in St Neots the Eatons. So there aren't that many independents this time, it seems, because like last time was the sort of independent wave of people getting on, because you had a sort of bit of an earthquake in Cambridgeshire politics with lots of independents coming in and the Conservatives losing. So that it was quite an independent, interesting set of elections last time. I think this one will be as well. But I think particularly for people at my end of politics, it felt really quite, it was quite a big shake-up, and all of a sudden, within in a year, we suddenly went for, had the mayoralty and then joint administrations at the county council and the district council. We have lost Martin, unfortunately. I was going to say, I don't want to speak too much for Stephen, but and he has a lot more than I do. He's more visible, and he's been a county and district councillor. But I do appreciate the how wearing it gets. Some of the, it's not exactly abuse, but whenever you try to do anything, there is a certain amount of naysaying. Now, I think this is something that you see more of because social media, and particularly at the moment, there's just this negativity about the country. But it gets wearing. There's a project coming up in Huntingdon to resurface the high street. Now, I think it's a great project, but you've got people came out immediately and said, "Oh, it's stupid. What a stupid thing to do." Now, actually, it's only a relatively small number. Most people seem to think, just by looking at reactions on Facebook, that it was a good thing, but the commenting and so on does get very wearing. When you go on and you see that sort of negativity, it's quite hard. You back, Martin? I can't hear you now. Hey, Martin, can you hear me now? Are you there? I'm afraid I can't hear you. Say radio check over. No, I'm afraid I can't hear you. I don't know if anybody in the audience can. I'm afraid we're back to me monologuing. So the other thing I know there was something that Martin wanted to talk about. The other thing that's that we were going to talk about was how Donald Trump's tariffs could affect Cambridgeshire. And this is the world today, that decisions made a long way away can have a huge effect on politics in Cambridgeshire. We've obviously got a lot of pharmaceutical industries. I'm not sure how much it's going to affect them, because I think they're exported, but of course, obviously it will be a drag on the economy more generally. I think I am going to call it here. I'm just going to check in with Martin and see if he can get back on, because I'm not sure I want to monologue at great length. Here's Martin. Hello, Martin. Are you there, Martin?
Hopefully
Martin?
You can hear me.
Okay. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I think we might have to call this a day today. It's not going very well.
Yeah.
I apologise. It's hotel Wi-Fi. I thought it was better than I've got.
Yeah. Well,
which is a shame, but we can talk about elections next week.
Yeah. Okay. Should we wrap it up there, and we'll catch up again next week? Okay. I think we're going to have to wrap it up there, and I'm going to end the stream. So sorry about the technical problems, everyone, and see everybody next week, when hopefully we'll be back together again. Take care.